Well, hello, welcome. We thank you for tuning in, all of our Dayspring women. We miss you. We miss you a lot. Being through a camera and Zooming every Sunday and during the week, it's just not the same as seeing your beautiful faces. But we are getting closer every day to being able to do that again. But thanks for tuning in. We're really excited about what we've got prepared for you tonight. So first of all, we're going to have a little chat. I actually have our incredible Dayspring women's team here with me, who are the heart and soul behind everything that we do for our women here at Dayspring. And then after we have a little chat about a few things, we're going to have a chat with you and touch base and see if we can see some of your gorgeous faces after we first chat here together. So just in case I know most of you would have seen these lovely women around, but you may not have met them in person. So I'm going to introduce them first before we jump into some conversation. So first of all, we've got the incredible Liz Harwood.
Greetings.
Married to Chris, plays the drum. He's on drum. He plays the drum.
Just one drum. The rest is improvisation.
He plays the drums. He plays the drums. He's on our church board. You've got 3 beautiful children, and you are a woman of many talents too. So, and we're just so grateful to have you here and on our team. So it's a beautiful Liz. The Sean Green, married to Justin, 3 beautiful girls. Yes. You'll see her often playing the keys, helping us worship. And you are on our church board too. And I am so thankful for that.
Another woman.
Another woman, and she has a very big brain. I always tell her that, and I'm thankful for her brain. That's a beautiful Sean. And Kat, who really has her finger pretty much in every pie of our church.
Sorry.
Hope you wash your hands.
I do wash my hands. These days it's sanitizer as well.
Do you sing a song?
But Kat, yep, incredible part of our women's team. Yeah, fingers in lots of pies. And you've got your gorgeous 16-year-old son.
He is
Tim.
17 in 2 months.
No. And he's got a mo.
He does. And little weird
working on
hairs
his
out
hair.
his chin.
So this is our beautiful team. And before we kind of jump into just having a bit of a chat with each other, we thought we might start with there's been some absolute gold floating around on social media around this whole isolation situation that we are all finding ourselves in at the moment. And so we thought we'd have a little bit of a look and hopefully a bit of a laugh at what life has been like. And maybe we can all relate to some of these. So here we go.
Accurate.
Stepped on my
So
scale this
accurate.
morning and it said, please use social distancing 1 person at a time. Do we feel like we've put on some kilograms?
You just don't own scales. That's the only way to go here. You really just throw them out, man. Everyone's culling. There's nothing else to do.
Cull the scales.
There are the scales.
Anybody else feeling like their jeans are tighter? No.
I'm not wearing jeans. That's a fool's errand.
It's jeggings, my friend. Jeggings.
I've basically just ignored the scale and gone with my tightest pair of jeans, and I figure as long as I still fit those, then all is good.
That's a great plan.
Because anything else will make me stop eating the nice food and drinking the wine. So I just thought that's the best way to go
Intuition,
forward.
isn't it? You just go, I feel like these pants today. They're going to be fine.
I must admit, it's the pants with stretchy materials. It's the activewear that's become my uniform, unfortunately. But anyway, so yes, I think we can all relate to that one. Yes.
If I have another Zoom meeting, I may fall out of my tree.
Yeah. Yep. I feel you.
I mean,
Care factor?
oh my goodness.
I hate Zooms. There is going to be we will suffer from PTSD from Zooms for the rest of our life. Psychiatrists and counsellors will just be dealing with come down from Zoom calls.
I had a lovely, very well-meaning client the other day helping me by explaining how to mute my microphone on Zoom. And I was like, if this wasn't my 400,000th Zoom call just for this week, I'm sure that would have been super. Oh, thank you.
I was saying to Faf the other day, literally, I think teachers are the ones who win in the Zoom chat scenario because you have your classroom of children, but you literally can mute them whenever you want.
Where's the mute function for home?
From you, Tristan.
If only they
Shut
can
up,
figure
class.
out how to transfer that to the classroom
That's
when
it.
they all
I'll
come back.
permit you to speak right now and not you. And then it's all like, right, you've got 2 minutes to socialise. Okay, done. Class is finished and that's my day. Oh, I love it. I just think teachers smashing it.
Oh, they are. They really are. We appreciate them. If you're a teacher, blessings on you. But yes, okay. Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
tempting though, right? I mean, I know it's strictly illegal,
tried?
but
Have you
who
tried
are
it?
they going to call?
Yeah.
Like,
Especially with their mouths taped over. I mean, that is good thinking, isn't it?
No, I haven't tried the actual duct tape or the masking tape, but, you know, confessions, I have done, you know, if I've had to do a Zoom, it's screens. Would you like to play with the iPad?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And just, yeah, I just said that. Anybody else tried
oh
taping
no,
their children
not
to the
screen
floor?
time. Not at my
We
house.
don't, yes. Only mung beans for us. Mung beans and kombucha. And we all sing and hold hands.
And we do calisthenics.
Yes,
It's
we do.
lovely.
All right, but no one's masking taped the kids yet.
No, I
No,
feel
I
like
haven't
if I did that with Tim, considering how tall he is, it would
Can you
literally
use it all
take
up?
about a year's worth of masking tape. It's
Yeah.
not worth
Yeah.
The
it.
cost is prohibitive. No.
He's
And
too
we're out,
big.
as you know.
Yeah, you'd need to more like smear tar and stick him to that. All right, I think we've got one more. I love this.
Oh, this is my favourite because I live next to a park and it's like Pitt Street Mall. It's seriously ridiculous. And you just want to get out there with the thing going, Margaret. John, I haven't seen you before COVID-19. Why are you here every day with your dog?
It's extraordinary because I super want to judge all these people out exercising, but this is the first time that I've ever gone out for walks as well. So I would be Margaret.
But you got to look casual, like you're not dressed
Yeah,
up
no.
for it like everyone else. Or dragging 5 of your children with you, which is obvious. It's like, I just can't do the house right now.
Yeah, she needed a timeout.
I did watch a family come down to the park. Tim and I were doing our daily 5K walk around the park, and there was a family, 2 parents, and their kids were each in those battery-powered cars. They were walking them around.
Awesome.
I'm thinking that's not really exercise when your 3 girls are in battery-powered cars, like trying to rev it up the hill.
You know
Just
what? If
go
it
home,
slows
guys,
them down,
just go home.
make it longer. The longer the better.
It's just easier to scream into the void when you're outside. So
Plus,
whatever
if
it takes.
it's loud, right? So they can have private conversations.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's fine. I know that's the worst of it is when your kids are trying to walk next to you and you're like, we're trying to talk about you. So
Yes,
Go. Just
we
go.
have done that.
Run
Could
a
you just
lap.
walk a few steps?
a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Okay.
See if you can do 10 skips really fast to the corner and I'll say stop. Do it again.
So much gold. So much gold. Well, yes, that's, you know, life in isolation from, you know, various forms floating around on social media. But how about, I would love to hear how or what life in isolation for each of you, how has that been for you, your family, work situations? Yeah, just give us a snapshot. We might,
Are we going round? Are
yeah.
we going around? It's like prayer. Okay. So, well, I was excited at first. In fact, Chris had a bit of a heads up because Lifeline, and they were preparing to just be ready when people needed them. So I was all kind of like, you know, I was kind of excited. I was like, oh, good. I could do without a month of buttercream and school runs. So I was excited. And you know what? It's been good. We did like a mad list. Like we just did so many lists. We did so many like plans. We did long-term goals, short-term goals.
Oh,
We
wow.
made plans for like, you know, let's write all the board games in the family, you know, that we own, and we're just going to make sure that we blitz through those. We're going to get everything. We're going to have like this time and that time. We literally wrote a run sheet with the kids, and we were like, you know what? We're not going to waste this. And we got into it. It was great. We've kind of exhausted that at the moment. We've come to the end. Chris is like, well, he kind of likes being home and doesn't like being home. So we've come through the worst of that, where he's like, there's no downtime. I'm like, well, welcome to my life. He's like, I'm in trackies all the time. I'm like, also welcome to my life. So, yeah, I don't know, but we've worked it out. He just closes the door. The kids run amok. Thankfully, my sister delivered to us before we all got locked in, like reams of paper from her work. And that
Smart.
has just saved my life. Joseph has like just smashed through every day's prototypes times 30. And Yeah, so it's a bit chaotic. We still have lots of lists, but they're less kind of there's just less a focus now. We've kind of settled into a new normal. Yeah, it's kind of good.
Yeah, beautiful. All right. Well, Shan, how about you? How's life been in the greenhouse?
Yeah, really interesting. Unlike Liz, I made no plans. We really took it just a day at a time. I found it very bewildering in the beginning, just trying to get my head around what was actually happening. There was a certain novelty in deleting things out of my calendar to start with, because then like these free weekends would pop up and you're just like, oh, I haven't seen one of those in forever. But then when it was free weekends as far as the eye could see, I think a little bit of the sadness set in. We're super lucky in the sense that we both still have our jobs, which I know is an incredible blessing, and we both have capacity to work from home, which is another amazing blessing. Both of our respective teams have been phenomenal. We're super lucky to have access to technology that has meant our kids have, roughly been able to keep up with their schoolwork. My kids, it's been interesting. I've got one who's climbing the walls. They're super extroverted, loves everybody and everything, except staying at home. So she's kind of having wobbly moments around that, but she's also having a real good crack at kind of processing things with me. So I think that's been helpful. I've got one who is a very internalized kind of a little person. She thinks very deeply. I think she likes being at home. She likes kind of family and is a bit of a homebody, but she also likes the predictability and the routine of school. She likes her teachers. She likes her friends. So I think all the change has been quite unsettling for her, but she'll get really, really upset about things that the toothpaste lid wasn't on and, someone's dared to suggest that she may not have replaced it. Yeah. And so that's kind of where she, manifests, and then you have to dig a little bit deeper to work out what's actually upsetting her. I have one who's just living her best life, kind of just crawling around the house.
Like the dog, like Mayo, just pats.
Basically,
pats
it's just like entertainment on tap.
All her favourite people are there.
All her favourite people are there all the time. It's just snacks, because my supervision levels are pretty minimal. I'm going to be super honest. So what we do is we just strew like corn thins and go.
Oh, I've seen this in BBC. It wasn't a good documentary, though, I have to say.
But it gets like a solid hour, right? Because she just sort of crawls around. She does have a tendency to try and eat power cables, so that's not being great. And she likes like banging a little fist on the printer and tearing up bits of paper that you just have to hope weren't important, and various other bits and pieces. But yeah, she's been super happy. Justin likes being at home. He likes the one-on-one interaction, but I think large groups of people kind of exhaust him a bit.
More than two.
Any more than, he's like coronavirus's ideal person, because more than two social contacts is too many, and he would just go and wash his hands. So I think he's okay, except for the fact that I'm sharing his workspace, and it turns out I don't stop talking. So that's probably been quite the challenge for him, is coexisting with me and three little humans. As it turns out, none of us stop talking. So, yeah.
Surrounded by women.
Surrounded by women. I know. Yeah. Please send help or gifts, whatever.
Or headphones, industrial strength headphones.
That's exactly right. That's basically it. We're doing all right.
Awesome. Awesome. And what about you, Kat? How are you and Tim holding up, being bunkered down together in isolation?
Oh, so cute.
It was... Again, same kind of thing. It was very much a shock to the system when it happened. Obviously being, sisters with Liz, having Chris having a bit of an inside knowledge was handy, because there was a bit of preparation that could go into it, and knowing that Tim wasn't going to be at school. I'd actually just managed to get him back to school after a couple of weeks of not being at school with a bad knee, and walked him in, and he coughed and was told to take him home. So
Charlie's been like, if you have a sniffle, you get to go home.
At that point, I was like, well,
you see
this is serious.
The ticking, right? You're like, no.
You're
Not
fine.
for you, though. You go.
Here's a tissue.
So at that point, I realised it was probably serious, and that we were going to have to take this a little more seriously. And I also lost all my catering work within the space of a week. Well, it pretty much happened in a day, and then the next week, poor Kristen bore the brunt of my tears on that one, as the realisation hit me that the one job I still had standing was now no longer. So that was a bit of a moment of realisation. And Tim, I think, has kind of not been sure whether he's happy or sad about it, because suddenly I'm home all the time, and he's made
Pros
a few
and cons.
comments.
You can make me food, but you're here.
So you can make a list about that, Sean.
There's times where he's said it and I've thought, I think you're appreciating the fact that I'm home, and other times he said, you're here all the time. And I'm like, I sense behind that is a question of, when will you leave again, please, Mum?
He and Justin should hang out.
He is very much the quiet, doesn't need people around him, likes his space kind of child. So we have navigated doing HSC. His school,
Yeah, I was just about to say
for
that.
whatever reason, has decided to do HSC over 2 years. So we have our first year of HSC. So navigating HSC with having to online learn as well has been quite an interesting journey for us, on top of still doing Dayspring stuff, which has been wonderful because it's given me focus. So it's been a busy, interesting, emotional, weird roller coaster of a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can totally see God's blessings through it all, as much as I've also had a few conversations with God going, truly, you're an idiot. I don't know, you're not supposed to say
What's the plan?
I have had a moment or two.
Plan.
And then I just go to the Psalms.
Where are we in this trajectory?
So yes, we're alive still.
Well, that's good. On the whole, we're surviving, right? We're surviving through this thing,
No
I'm
child has
dressed.
died.
Come on.
right? We're wearing pants today.
We are in
No.
pants.
Yeah.
We wear pants every day. So coming from that's a snapshot. What have, if there have been any, the more challenging aspects for you in your household? What, you personally, or like a work situation, or just the whole everybody being in each other's pockets dynamic? What has been the challenging times in this season? And I'll throw that to anybody.
Well, I guess I'll just carry on from what I was saying. I guess the challenge has been the fact that it was quite a smack in the face to me suddenly, because I went at a very fast pace. I was constantly busy. Tim in saying, you're home was because I could very often be 5, 6, 7 days working straight, which I loved. I enjoyed that pace, and we maintained relationship and all that. So for that to all of a sudden stop, I felt a little like I'd hit quite a hard brick wall, and it was a bit of I don't know what to do with this. And I think I realised in that just how much I used that busyness to avoid ever having to deal with things, which was a blessing and a curse. I mean, I do deal with things, but busyness.
You mean
can
they
be
didn't go away?
It oddly did.
You can ignore them.
It was so it's been a hard process dealing with that, and coming to the realization that I was actually standing there one night and I realized I was smashing the mints. And I was like,
It's already mints.
So
That's
there's
the name.
worship music playing and I'm like smashing it. I'm like, wow, okay, I'm actually, and that was quite early on. It was about a week in, and I just realized that there was a lot of unprocessed anger at that point. Just, I guess, and I'm sure I'm not the only one in this, who kind of, when I've done everything that I can possibly do to set myself up well, I've been responsible. I have sought you, God, in everything. I have always, had your input in how I live my life and what my life looks like. I've always believed that you would cover and keep Tim and myself safe, because being unmarried especially, I rely on him. And for all of that to suddenly just feel like it had just disappeared again, I was angry at God, and it was a bit of a moment to kind of go, I know you're not meant to, but then I went, hey, the Psalms, there's like 70% of the Psalms are actually laments, where he's going, God, I really dislike you right now. And there's an entire book called Lamentations again, where we're just going, you suck. This is not fair. And it was the realization in it all, I suppose, that anger isn't the issue. He wants us to process that with him. I'm angry at you, God, right now. You didn't have my back like I wanted you to. And then the process of that, which has been an interesting journey. But anyway, yes. So it's been hard.
Do you know, it's so interesting, because I'm also reading through the Psalms at the moment. And I love the fact that God has allowed this book to be in the Bible. You read, and like the beginning of most of them is, break the arms of the wicked, pour sulfur on them as they perform their evil deeds.
Also
they think
relevant.
they're getting away with it, but they're not. God, come and burn their villages. And it's just this extraordinary outpouring of bring vengeance. And then he's like, but you, God, are my refuge in times of trouble. You fight for the poor and the oppressed. You're kind. Your forgiveness stretches out to eternity. You just think, exactly, like, King David, one of the people that we just hold in such admiration as being such a symbol of relationship and intimacy with God, and that incredible worshipper's spirit, just raging at the universe and at God, and yet nevertheless coming to this place where, God, but you are genuinely my rock. And I think the thing I love about David's story is it's not all sunshine and roses. You know, there's a heap of rubbish that happens in there, and yet he's still kind of loved by God and held up as an example. And yeah, it's been really beautiful. The thing that I found really challenging was this weird pressure I put on myself at the beginning to have some deeper meaning in all of this. Like, to use this as a time to do insert thing here, whether it was like the amazing craft project or, I don't know, like write that novel or do that thing. I don't know.
Make sourdough.
Everyone has done it except for me. I have to be honest.
I haven't done it. Someone asked me if I wanted a starter.
See you later.
I was like, no.
No. Like, we tried making Anzac biscuits and I put them in the oven with the grill element on.
Oh, yeah.
So they were like
Crispy.
burnt rounds of something unidentified. It was just amazing. And that marmalade cake that I texted you all pictures of, which managed to be like, those xiaolong bao dumplings where it's basically firm on the outside and soup on the inside.
Oh,
I don't know
amazing.
how.
They are. You should go
Sure.
with that.
Yeah, that's what it was.
has
Sure.
that.
Yes.
Like a
marmalade
coconut.
xiaolong bao
Like
was
a
amazing.
young coconut, just kind of pop
Not
it
even
in
the
there
kids
with
would
an
eat it.
umbrella.
It was cake. They're like, oh, no, thank you. I'm like, all right, good.
Not amazing.
That's it. And so you just go, I'm going to get to the end of this, just kind of like hanging out for normality to return and have learned nothing. Am I going to be that person who's just going to go round and round this mountain forever and never learn anything and never get better? And so part of the reason for reading Psalms is just God's incredible graciousness with David, who, throughout all of these Psalms, and there's quite a lot of them, still manages to go through this process again and again. And I'm just really trying to develop an awareness of God's graciousness for me in these moments. I don't have to come out of this with this list of achievements where I now have a yoga body. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't have a yoga body.
Beautiful.
It is, isn't it? It's pretty amazing. I have a potato bake body, which is going super well. Pretty proud of it.
Mine's the sundowner body. Let's call it what it is.
But you can eat potato bake at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday and nobody judges. So,
Yeah,
well,
it's
maybe
11
they
o'clock
do,
on a
but
Tuesday somewhere
you're
in the
your
world.
house. Yeah, that's basically, yes. Yeah, so that's been the challenging bit, is I think my mental pressure, and really just going, why? Yeah. So I'm still working through that a little bit, but it's just lovely to be able to communicate with other people, I think.
Absolutely. Did you have anything you wanted to share?
Well, you guys went to the Psalms. I went straight to Revelation. I was like, I am going to sort this stuff out. I am going to find these clues, man. I was doing some real digging. I was like, right, I have read the Bible from the beginning to the end. I've jumped around. This is not going to work. I'm going to go straight to Revelation and I'm going to read backwards. And it's not like that, but when, like in the 90s, you could play a tape backwards and there was a secret message.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
like,
Pink
maybe
Floyd, right?
that's the code. I
Yes.
cracked the code.
Pink Floyd and Revelation.
Yeah,
It's the same thing.
Okay, so I read it and it's got some holy moments, but yeah, it really didn't do it for me. I was really as confused as I could ever be. I was like, it's just as nonsensical as what's going on. Anyway, so that didn't work, but that's my story. No, not true. I was a bit like Faf. I was in such deficit. I was in sleep deficit, peace deficit, everything. I didn't know what self-care was. I still don't. I'm learning, we're getting
Where's
there.
the time for that?
No, there isn't. And you know what? I'm okay with that because it's every reason you can just say, well, that's because I'm tired or that's because of whatever. But the minute it's stripped away, you're like left and you're like, I've put it off. I mean, I kind of welcomed it, to be honest, because I was really at my edge. I was like just so strung out. I think you all, know what that, that's just life. Sometimes you get there and you're so like proud of yourself for getting up every morning and just going at it. And you're like, you don't address anything because why? You're doing it. It's all good. So there was the moment. And honestly, I was trying to look for the big one, like you do, you search. And I wrote all these lists that I mentioned. And literally, I've made the kids do all of their long-term, short-term goals. And I have not made myself do one. It's been amazing. I've
Too
just
much
kind of slid down, just gone, you know what? No, right now. It's not for now. And that's okay, because right now I'm addressing food and education and, a safe place for my family, because Chris's work is not relenting and it's fine, and that's great. And I have what I think is a privilege of being able to not continue at the pace I was at.
Yeah.
Look, I feel a little bit like I'd like to know where I am, like where are we in this? Because it's easy to say for a month I can put that on hold. For a month I can just lay down and not be producing, because I really like to do things and I like to make and I like to contribute. But the hard part is not knowing where you're at. And so the only thing that I can I just got to trust. I mean, there's the knowledge of the storm, and there's the knowledge of the craziness and the loss of bearings and stuff. They're part of life. It's what happens. In fact, I have a funny. It's not funny. It's a terrible story. It's not terrible.
Set the bar low,
It's a
Liz.
story. It's not funny or terrible.
I know, I'm like, is this
It's
funny?
probably really
what should
lame.
my face be doing?
It's not funny.
The tissues.
Is it even
Yes,
a
I'm-
story? Oh my gosh. Okay, all right. No, this is to describe where I feel like I have come, and actually it's so relevant to my life. I was so at peace once I saw it, because about, when was it, a year ago? I did this trip up in the boat with the boys. So this is the Harwood boys, and we all went sailing for days. And that was great. That was really nice. That's not the story. The story was that we came back down into pit water. I was on shift. We'll call it shift. Chris will correct me. Sorry, babe.
He will.
I was on shift. And I was listening to C.S. Lewis, Till We Have Faces, and it had been so still and so beautiful, and it was a full moon, and there's Barrenjoey, and we're nowhere clear, like they're near the heads, but you don't know the distance because it's water, whatever. Navigator. Anyway, then this fog sets in. It must have been 4 or 5. Dark, mysterious, wet, all-consuming. Literally, you couldn't see a thing. You couldn't see anywhere in front of you. You did not know where you were, for all I knew. And I was going to trust my intuition, which I couldn't at that stage, only the navigator. One turn and I would have been in Lion Island, hit the lighthouse. Who knows? Didn't know. Could not see. There were like these ghost birds kind of rising just in front of the boat. It was nuts. And it was so, you couldn't fix a bearing anywhere except for the navigator. And that's the situation. I don't know where I am. I don't know which part I'm at. I don't know if I'm beginning, if I'm in the middle, if I'm close. But I just have to trust the navigator. I have to adjust my stance, look, where I can look, and just feel that sense of peace and abiding. Just breathe and pray. Pray like breath. Just deal, and just do it. And just, what more can you do sometimes? That's it. So I remember it, and it was such a holy kind of feeling, but it was also really scary. And so totally describes where I'm at right now. And I feel okay. I shouldn't, because I don't know. But that's God. That's totally God. So that's me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It really is beautiful, because I think that's, a lot of the conversations that we're having with lots of different people, it's the recurring thing, what we would go to measure if we're going okay. How is life going? Okay, well, I normally measure it by this, or I'm meant to be even doing this. What's the right way to do isolation? I need to be achieving all this stuff. Or where's my provision come? All those things. It's a time of really evaluating what we use to measure and mark things outside of Him. Outside of Him and our relationship with Him. So I think that's all. That's really beautiful, Liz. All right, so that's some of the tough stuff. Let's just quickly go through your top one. What's like a beautiful moment? What's a beautiful moment that you've had in isolation? If you've had one, no pressure.
Well, we made what some people might consider the mistake of purchasing Google Nests for our 2 oldest.
I don't even know what they are.
Google Minis.
Oh, okay.
It's like a
where
Google
you can
Home,
make the music go through
where
all
you
the
can
things.
make the music
like Josh
come all the
Goodman.
time, basically. That's more of the issue. The useful thing is it means that Justin can send the messages from his phone where he's like, dinner, and just sends it
That's handy.
because we're super lazy.
Yeah.
But
Intercom, like the intercom of the old days.
it's basically like an intercom. It's really fun. But it means they can play all the music all the time. And so, of course, they play all the music all the time. But some of the most amazing moments, because we have all this time now and there's no pressure, like we don't feel like we're in a rush, but we're out the door before 7 every single morning, and we're home at 5:30 every single night. We're out every single weekend, and they've got activities and they've got this and that and the other. With all of that just disappearing, suddenly all this time. And so the number of times I just come into one of their rooms and they're having this impromptu dance party and they're playing some rubbish song that they absolutely love and adore, and the baby is just like going for it. And, like watching Pippa dance is one of the delights of my heart. But really, even watching a 9 and a 7-year-old dance is also equally fantastic.
Yeah.
And just seeing that relationship thrive, it's just absolutely been beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and they fight and they shout at each other, but they love
But
each other.
they've turned into themselves, like into
Yeah.
each other. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's the same. How's Tim and his sibling going?
Tim is absolutely turned in, and his sibling, he's just adoring time with his siblings.
He's welcome to come over.
He will say no.
Rightly so.
It is less like crazy like between them, don't you think? You're right.
I feel like there's been
like
like a reset
There's
button.
a settling between them. There's
Yeah.
a friendship.
Yeah,
They're not going to
absolutely.
love each other, but they're going to like forget that they hate each other.
Yes.
It's that,
And
isn't
it's
it?
going to be great for half an hour. and
They've got
the
common
house
ground now.
gets
Yeah.
turned over and it's just
All other
raucous and
options have
fab.
been eliminated.
Yeah,
so it's like,
Can't see your actual friend.
yeah, might as well talk to
Yeah,
you.
You'll do.
We'll make this work. Beautiful. Any other beautiful
Yes,
moments?
similar to you girls, just that gift of time. I think I'd realised that with Tim at the age he's at and being an adult next year, my goodness, he will be 18 next year, that I had been preparing my heart for the fact that he would be leaving me soon and that would be it and we would never
Yeah, no,
speak
he
again,
won't.
which is a bit of an overreaction, but I realised that in that
Harry
process
tomorrow, Tim never.
I'd been pulling my heart away a little bit in preparation for the heartbreak of that. And all of a sudden there was this gift of time that I had been longing for because
Yeah.
realising that, I won't get emotional, but I have such a small amount of time left with this boy who has grown so fast and who I adore so much and who is my entire world. And all of a sudden we were gifted this time that I could never have made. And as much as it's come at a great cost, it's been the most incredible blessing where each day we can go out and we walk for 5K and we just talk and we've just reconnected. And it's not that our relationship was bad. We've always had a freakishly good relationship, but we've connected in a way that we haven't been able to in a long time because I've been home. And at night, instead of that, as you say, that rush of, we're home now, you've got to get your homework done. There's not like a minute to spare because you've got to get the homework done so we can move on to assessments, so we can move on to dinner, so that we can get dinner done, so we can get showers done, so we can get into bed right on time so that you're in time for the next day. And that rush is no longer. And so at night we just lie there and we just chat into the, stupid hours just about dumb stuff and about big stuff. And it's just been this beautiful reset of time with this kid that is really not a kid anymore, who's, almost a young adult and who I won't have for much longer. So it's been a real blessing.
That's beautiful.
Sorry.
No,
that was
It's
awesome.
okay. And
Not
you
at
know
all.
what? Tears are good for
I'm
the
going to go home
camera.
and hug my children.
Yeah, we'll all hug our children.
It actually really does go fast. Enjoy it.
Stuff
Yeah,
I don't want
yeah.
to think
It goes
about.
too
No,
fast.
spot on. It does,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, to wrap it up now, I thought we'd finish with the question on around community and other people because, we've had all of that. We're not gathering, we're not seeing extended family, we're not seeing friends. In this time, and you can answer this however you want. It may be a reflection that you have on the importance of community, something that you miss about community. But have you had any thoughts about how important that aspect is? And it can be like a school community, church here, family, whatever it is. Any reflections on the importance of community now that, it's been taken away for a time?
Absolutely. I'd never thought, I think, particularly deeply about it, but this has just reinforced to me that we are absolutely designed for community. There's an aliveness that I think comes from being in the presence of other people who love and care for you. I think there's something about being able to come and see people and say, this is what's hard for me. Because, there's something about sharing it that just kind of takes the secrecy and the shame and the fear out of it. And, it just, people, even if they do nothing but just love you in that moment, it's just incredible. I remember the first Sunday that we came back when Scott Morrison said that Easter Sunday,
Yes.
Churches could resume as a workplace. And so there were sort of 5 of us on team and we're almost shaking with excitement going, it's other adults. And I was talking to Beck Debenham afterwards. She said she'd watched the live stream. She's like, you were playing that keyboard like you really meant it.
Extra
I was
passionate today.
I was so happy. I'm like, this is great. Let's all just stay here afterwards and look at each other, but socially distanced. It's been amazing. And so I think it's just renewed my gratitude for these relationships, for my super close relationships, but also for just the importance of gathering, whatever that looks like. And, I know it looks different for Justin and he's happy just if someone comes and sits at the opposite end of our table with him and they just kind of talk to each other.
That's basically Tim.
It's again, they just should live together.
That's why
They'd
they're
be so
friends.
they would just sit at opposite ends of the house and just do nothing, and they'd be so happy. They'd make 2-minute noodles. They'd be,
What a rage.
oh yeah, living the dream,
Count
right?
me out.
What a party.
Keep that in mind for later. At the end of this, we can still live together. So I think I have just been reminded about, just how much we are designed to be in relationship with each other.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody else?
I have just, again, really found a new appreciation for the value of friendship and what it looks like to make a conscious choice when things change to still maintain relationship, because it was very easy when that happened so fast, where all communication really was cut off, for people to just make a decision that, well, that's not for me, and I'm just going to isolate myself off completely. That was a real possibility. So it was a conscious choice to keep relationship, and the importance of that. And actually our women have been amazing at that. A group of our women who have just so intentionally gone after keeping communication with each other and looking out for each other and making sure that they're connecting and being vulnerable enough to say, hey, I have a need right now, can you pray? And then watching the other women come on board immediately with 5,000 messages. I love all the messages, I do. But the way that they've just come on board and gone, you know what, now is the time more than ever, because we can't see each other face to face, to just be vulnerable and be real and do relationship and work out how to make this work in a new environment. Because the reality is we are built for relationship, and as life changes, we will always come against things that want to stop that or make it very easy to come up with an excuse to walk away from relationship. But it's a choice that we have to make if we want to continue to be whole and healthy women, to push in and go, you know what, right now I have a need, and I understand that other women have all got other things going on, so it's my responsibility to go, hey, I've got a need right now, and just step out and be willing to go, I've got to be vulnerable with you and say, this is my need. And as we do that, we watch as a community how everyone just rises to the occasion and just comes to the party. And, within the first one was someone saying they just needed some food, and within 2 minutes, someone had already left their house to go and pick food up and drop it to them. Like, that's community. That's what we're meant to be. And if we can grasp that as women, I think what more is God asking of us than just to be able to be like that as women? It's so important. We can't do it on our own.
No, I'm with you guys. I mean, to be honest, like I did like the slowdown. You know this, I've told you. It's fine. I think what it did was it focused on single encounter in a sense. So, anyone you saw, you had that meaningful moment with. You weren't just whisking by with an excuse because you were going to see 20 more people and who cares. But in terms of people in your life, you're right. Now, I've been terrible. I'm terrible at getting out there. I am. I'm so happy, but I am a pack animal. And I do love to know that the pack is good, that the people are good. So that there's a bit of a juxtaposition there, but that's cool. But I remember obviously going from Revelation forward, you're going to hit something useful at some point. And I remember being wrapped up in this kind of really angsty space, because I was really ready to be done with everyone except for my kids, except for my husband. I was ready. You're good, Faf, because you come around all the time.
Well, thank
you're
you.
good, Sean, because you're my mate. You're good, Kristen, because you're my mate and my pastor.
Kids, so
it's all good.
I felt like I was safe.
No, there's a thing in it. And I was really kind of you get a bit wounded because everyone's rushing and people can't treat you kindly, and you're not treating yourself kindly anyway. So there's the reality of life. It was in, I can't remember the reference, 2 Peter somewhere, and it just does start with a bit of an end time reference. It says, the end of all things is near. And I was like, I thought I was going to get my moment, but it doesn't talk about that at all. It goes on and it says basically be clear-minded and alert so that you can pray and have understanding, basically, for one, which is really what the church moved on to. And straight away, let's just not get caught up in the fear and the stress and all the conspiracy theories about Bill Gates. Let's just go with
Amen.
Clarity here.
Yeah.
God is good to his people. Provider provides. Lover loves. Keeper keeps. You just cannot forget that he cares for you. So that. And then it was just before Anzac Day where I had done nothing for anyone. I'm honest. I was just so done. And it said, just offer your gift, whatever you've been given to give. Just offer your gift and do it without grumbling. And, that's what you've received to give to others. Just do it. I was like, that is so for me right now. It's so relevant. It just shuts up my complaining and my whinging and my sadness about how exhausted I am, because everyone out there just needs us to be faithful in that little thing that God's got us to do. It's not big and it's not gonna. But it was just like, okay, God, pull my finger out. It's going to do that little thing that I feel to do, not have an excuse. And also not trash myself for not being all things to all people, which, I was trying to be before and it was not working anyhow. So put a line in the sand and we say, that's the end of that. Just approach the next thing. And that community works that way, doesn't it? Little bits, parts, like the meal. That's beautiful. So good.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest takes for me is that, you hear, you're talking to other pastors and people trying to run businesses via Zoom. We all love Zoom. And there was talk at the beginning when we first kind of moved into it, though, there was a bit of a buzz around it. Like, not that we were excited about Zoom, but it was kind of like...
No, I hate it.
But there was this talk of, we could do this from home. We could do this all the time.
From home.
Yeah. And it wears pretty thin. Like, I've noticed, the need to care for people. You can only... you can only do that so much through a screen. You're missing the nuances of human to human conversation. It's
better than nothing, though.
It is better than nothing.
It really is important.
But it's just the energy and there's something about, like you were saying, we were wired for it. And, it was on Sunday. We were both here on Sunday morning, and, it's a different thing filming church, live streaming and speaking to cameras,
waiting for the countdown.
Yeah, it's interesting. But we've had some good worship. It's been beautiful. There's been some really beautiful moments. But we were reflecting before, this is behind the scenes information for you. As we're waiting, it's got footage of conferences and that beautiful song. And we were all reflecting, just looking at that moment in, conference time, and Joel's singing the song and just the atmosphere of it. And we're reflecting just on that atmosphere, that when we're all together and there's just something different. That's what we were wired for. And I can't wait to get that back. I think I'm going to be so excited the first morning when we're all back worshipping together.
Just one more thing that I meant to say and forgot to say, which I think is good. The other thing I find with community is it forces you to keep those fixed star kind of things, those things of gratitude, because I think especially in a time like this where there's so much going on for emotionally with so many people, all our journeys are different, but when we pull back, what our focus becomes is on the situation that's at hand and the troubles that we're dealing with and the things that we're going through in our mind. And what we need is what God's given us, which is community, who then hold us to those things. No, God is good, because I can see that in your life. And right now you are able to give account for where God's come through. And we've prayed, and you've now come back to us and said, this is where God's provided the miracle. And it keeps us accountable. It keeps us before God going, you know what? You are good and you are faithful and you are who you say you are. And right now in my situation, I can't see it, but because I've surrounded myself by choice with community, with people who are heading in the same direction as me, who understand that God is good, even in the hard times, it keeps us constantly going, okay, I can pin myself to that. And right now that becomes an anchor. That becomes my anchor point right now. And when the next thing, that becomes my anchor point. And until I see the victory that I'm believing for, I'm holding on to the fact that God, you are still good, because in community, I see that. I see the truth of who you are, as opposed to the lie that comes in when we isolate ourselves off and all we see is the mess, and all we see is our mental story, which is telling us essentially what the devil is trying to say. Because let's be honest, it's a battle between not flesh and blood, but principalities and powers. And all he's doing is getting in there with the lies, which is the situation at hand, and telling us that God isn't who he says he is. So the importance of pressing into community is huge.
Brings perspective, right?
Yeah, it really does.
Fixes our eyes on the main thing. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, girls.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Super fun.
Should we do this again, Liz?
Really.
Sometime
100%.
soon?
Yeah.
You guys free tomorrow?
Need a cup of tea.
No, honestly, thank you. Thanks so much. And we thank you for, time is precious. And so we thank you for giving of yours, to taking the time to tune in and lean into community. When it possibly could have been easier to watch a movie, maybe. You've chosen to make a cup of tea and lean into community.
Tiger King is done, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But we thank you, and we just really trust that by tuning in that you felt encouraged, that we're all experiencing this strange season. It may not all look the same, and we may not be experiencing it in the same ways, but we're all still in it together, and we're better together, and we're stronger together. So now we've chatted, and now we're looking forward as a team to chatting with you and seeing some of your faces. So now's your time to go to the link and have a chat with us. But we just thank you for joining in. We love you, we miss you, and we really look forward to seeing you in person and gathering very soon. All right, bye guys, we love you.
Bye.